There is a whole beef strip loin sitting on my butcher block right now, 10 pounds of it sealed inside a heavy clear plastic bag with one white paper label stuck to the side of the bag. It cost $120 at a warehouse store this morning. Sitting on that same butcher block, 6 inches to the right of that strip loin, there are 3 white foam trays of cut strip steaks, clear plastic film pulled tight over the top of each tray, a yellow price sticker on each one. Those 3 trays cost $120 too. Same store, same morning, same animal, same grade printed on both labels. The 3 foam trays hold 6 pounds of beef. The bag holds 10. I want you to sit and look at those 2 things on my block for a second, because that gap is the whole video. $120 on the left, $120 on the right, 4 pounds of difference, and not one person in that store said a word about it to anybody. I am going to show you which one of those I carried out to my own truck this morning. I am going to show you the one sentence that gets it handed to you. And I am going to show you what I do with it on my kitchen counter when I get it home with one knife in about 20 minutes. You do not need a coupon. You do not need to stand around waiting for the yellow markdown sticker they slap on at 8 o'clock at night. You do not need to drop down a grade and tell yourself you cannot taste the difference, because you can and you will. You do not need to eat less beef than your father ate. You need to know what to say. My name is Frank Miller. I cut meat for a living for 31 years, supermarket back rooms first, then a shop of my own with a cooler in the back and a block up front. And I broke down beef quarters 5 days a week the whole time. My hands do not lay flat on a table anymore. My right shoulder tells me 2 days ahead of time when rain is coming. And a man named Walt taught me the trade when I was 19 years old and did not know a chuck from a round. And here is the part I want you to hold on to. I have not bought a steak out of a foam tray in 19 years, not one. My wife thinks it is stubbornness. It is not stubbornness. It is arithmetic. And I am about to hand you the same arithmetic. Now, here is the part that ought to bother you. And I say it knowing exactly what it costs me to say it. The meat case is arranged to fool you. And I helped build those cases. I set them. I know how it is done. The cut steaks go at eye level in the trays under the good light with the marbling turned face up. The whole cuts, the big sealed bags like the one on my block, go on the bottom shelf, down by your knees, no sign, no price per pound in big print, no advertisement anywhere in that building, sometimes not even out on the floor at all, sitting on a rolling rack in the back cooler instead. And you have to know to ask. That is not an accident. I have moved those bags to the bottom shelf myself because I was told to, and I did it for years without thinking about it. The store makes its money on the cutting, not on the beef, on the cutting. So the promise I am making you is bigger than the title of this video. It is not just more steak for the same money. It is more steak cut thicker than any store in this country will cut it for you, off the end of the roast you choose, with a bag of trim left over that most folks throw in the garbage, and that I am going to show you how to turn into 2 more meals. Now, let me say one thing, and then I will not bring it up again. I have put 31 years of this down in a book over at frankmillerbutcher.com. Every cut, every trick, what to say at the counter. If you want it, it is there, or you can scan the code on the screen. That is all. Now let us get back to the meat. Let me give you the plain principle first, because once you have it, the rest of this makes simple sense. You are not paying for beef, you are paying for the knife. Think about how the meat actually gets to you. That animal was sold once as a carcass at one price per pound. Everything that happens after that is somebody handling it. Somebody splits it. Somebody breaks it into primals. Somebody cuts the primal into subprimals and seals them in plastic. Somebody trucks it. And then somebody in the back of your store on his feet since 4 a.m. takes that sealed piece out of the bag, slices it into steaks, lays them on a foam tray, wraps them, weighs them, and stickers them. Every one of those hands adds a number. The last set of hands, the ones in the back of your store, adds the biggest number of all. And when you buy the sealed bag, you are buying the beef one step earlier. You are cutting out the last set of hands, and the last set of hands, it turns out, is the most expensive hands in the whole chain. Walt used to call it buying the log. He came up in the trade after Korea, and that is what the old fellows called a whole strip loin, a log. He would say, a man who buys the log eats like the man who cuts it. He bought one every other Saturday for 40 years, and I do not believe that man ever once carried a foam tray out of a grocery store in his life. So let me name the thing now. What is in that heavy clear plastic bag on my block is called a subprimal. That is the trade word. It is a whole muscle group taken off the carcass and sealed in a vacuum bag before anybody cut a steak out of it. The plastic itself is called cryovac in the trade, after the company that made the process common back in the 1950s. And every piece of beef in this country travels inside one of those bags at some point on its way to you. The only question is whether the bag gets opened in the back of the store or on your kitchen counter. The whole strip loin is the one I am using today. In the trade, it carries a number, 180. And if you say that number to a meat cutter, he will know exactly what you mean. The whole boneless ribeye is a different number, 112A. The whole tenderloin is 189A. Those numbers are printed right there on the white label on the bag. You have walked past them 100 times. Now, here is the mechanism. Here is why the sealed bag is cheaper per pound than the identical meat cut into steaks 2 feet away, and it is not generosity. It is spoilage. That strip loin inside a sealed vacuum bag held at 34 degrees is good for something on the order of 6 weeks. No air on it, no oxygen touching the surface. The store can take that bag out of the truck, put it in the back cooler, and forget about it for a month without losing a dime. The second a meat cutter opens that bag and slices a steak, the clock changes completely. Air hits the cut surface. The meat blooms bright red for a few hours, which is the color everybody has been trained to shop for, and then it starts turning brown at the edges by day 2, dark by day 3. Not spoiled, mind you, perfectly good eating. But nobody buys a brown steak. So on day 3, that tray goes on markdown, and on day 4, it goes in the grinder or in the garbage. The store knows what percentage of those trays it is going to lose before it ever cuts them. So it prices that loss into every single tray. Every steak you buy in a foam tray is carrying the cost of the steaks nobody bought. You are paying for the cutting and you are paying for the waste, and the waste is not even yours. When you buy the sealed bag, you carry both of those problems home, and at home, neither one of them is a problem. You cut it the day you want to cut it. Nothing goes brown in your refrigerator because nothing is sitting out under a light waiting for a stranger to pick it. Now I owe you an honest correction, and I am going to give it to you, even though it costs me part of my own argument. You will hear people say you save half by buying whole. That is not true, and anybody telling you that has never actually trimmed one. That 10-pound strip loin in the bag is not 10 pounds of steak. There is a fat cap on top of it that runs a good half-inch thick in places. There is a strip of hard fat and gristle down one side that the trade calls the fat vein. There is a tail on the sirloin end that is thinner and looser than the rest. When I trim that 10-pound loin properly, I get somewhere close to 8.5 pounds of steak, not 10. 1.5 pounds of it comes off, and that 1.5 pounds is real, and it is money, and you paid for it. So the honest number is this: $120 in foam trays got you 6 pounds of steak. $120 in the bag got you 8.5 pounds of steak, plus about a pound of good lean trim and a 1/2 pound of clean white fat. That is not half off. That is about 2.5 pounds of steak more, cut thicker, plus 2 things in a bag that most folks throw away. That is the real number. I would rather hand you the real number and have you trust everything else I say. So here is exactly how you do it. 5 things. 1, go to the meat case and look low, down at your knees below the trays on the bottom shelf. Look for heavy, clear, sealed bags with a white paper label. That label will say the grade, the weight, and a number like 180. If you do not see any bags on that bottom shelf, go find the man in the white coat and say this to him. Do you have that in the bag? Uncut. 6 words. He will know what you mean, and he will very often walk to the back cooler and bring you one because he is not hiding it from you. Nobody ever asks him. 2, pick your bag with your eyes on the fat cap. Turn the bag over. You want the fat cap on top to look even from one end to the other, white and firm, not yellow and not thicker than about a 1/2 inch. Yellow hard fat means an older animal. Look at the cut face on the end of the loin and find the white flecks running through the red. Those flecks are the marbling, and they are the whole ball game. 3, get it cold before you cut it. This is the mistake, and it is the one that ruins the job for most folks the first time. A room temperature strip loin is soft. Your knife will wander. Your steaks will come out wedged, thick on one side and thin on the other, and a wedge steak cooks 2 different ways at once. Put that loin in your freezer for 30 minutes before you touch it. Flat on a sheet pan, still sealed in the bag, 30 minutes. It firms the fat up and your knife runs straight. 4, cut it on a big board with one long knife. You do not need a set. You need one sharp knife with a blade at least 8 inches long so you can draw it through in one stroke instead of sawing. Sawing tears the fibers. Take the loin out of the bag, lay it fat cap up, and trim that fat cap down to about a 1/4 inch. Do not take it all off. A 1/4 inch of fat is what bastes the steak in the pan. Then turn the loin so the long side faces you and cut straight down across the grain, 1.5 inches thick, 1.5 inches, not 1 inch. The store cuts 1 inch because thin steaks look bigger on the tray and sell faster, and 1 inch is the reason your steak came out gray in the middle. 5, wrap them one at a time, vacuum sealer if you own one. If you do not, plastic film wrap tight around each steak, then butcher paper over the film, then a date on the paper in pencil. Wrap that way in a freezer. Those steaks are good for 6 months and they will not taste like the freezer. Now, here is the part nobody talks about, and this is the part that would have gotten Walt going because this is where most of the money actually gets thrown out. That 1.5 pounds of trim, when you finish cutting, you are going to have a pile on the board, fat cap trimmings, a strip of meat off the fat vein, and the tail end of the loin. Most folks look at that pile, feel a little cheated, and slide the whole thing into the trash can. Do not do that. Separate it into 2 piles with your hands. Lean in one pile, white fat in the other. The lean pile, the meat off the tail and off the vein, is strip loin. Same muscle, same animal, same grade. It is just shaped wrong to sell as a steak, which is the only thing wrong with it. Cut it into cubes about 1 inch across and put it in a bag in the freezer. When you get 2 of those bags saved up, run them through a grinder, or ask that same fellow in the white coat to run it for you, which he will. That is the best hamburger you will ever eat in your life, and you already paid for it. The white fat pile goes in a heavy pot on the back of your stove, cut small over the lowest heat your burner makes. 2 hours, maybe 3. It will melt down into clear golden liquid with a few brown bits in the bottom. Pour that liquid through a strainer into a glass jar and let it set up on the counter. It turns hard and white, and it keeps in your refrigerator for a year. That is beef tallow. That jar on my counter is what I fry potatoes in. It is what I sear the next steak in because it takes higher heat than butter without burning. A shop sells you that in a little jar now for $11 and calls it artisan. It came out of the same animal you already bought, and you were about to put it in the garbage. And that is the difference between a cook and a butcher right there. A cook sees a steak. A butcher sees the whole animal and does not waste any of it because the man who does the cutting knows what everything costs. Nobody paid me to make this video. No company sends me beef. I did not get a code, and there is no seasoning in the description. I named that warehouse store because that is where I bought the bag on my block this morning. And if they had done me wrong, I would have said that too. I want to tell you why this matters more than it did 10 years ago. The cattle herd in this country is the smallest it has been since the early 1950s. Not since the 1980s, since the early 50s. Fewer cattle means less beef, and less beef means the price of every cut on that case goes one direction, and it has been going that direction for 4 years now with no sign of stopping. I watch what that does to people. I watched it from behind the glass for 31 years. Sunday steak became birthday steak. Birthday steak became Christmas steak. And then the family quietly stops buying beef altogether and nobody announces it. They just start walking past the case without slowing down. Here's what I want you to understand. You have not been priced out of beef. You have been priced out of the way beef is sold to you. The trays, the film, the foam, the light, the waist, the last set of hands, that is what got expensive. The animal did not change. So this week, 5 things. Go to the case and look low below the trays at your knees. If you see no bags down there, ask the man in the white coat, do you have that in the bag uncut? Turn the bag over and look at the fat cap and the flecks in the cut end. 30 minutes in the freezer before your knife touches it. Cut it 1.5 inches thick across the grain, one long stroke, then come back and tell me in the comments where you are watching from and what a pound of cut strip steak is running in your case this week, because I want to see it laid out state by state. And I've got a feeling the spread is going to surprise all of us. I read every single one of them. Next time I am going to take a whole boneless ribeye apart on this block, the good one, the one with the cap on it, and I'm going to show you where the roast changes from the best steaks in the building to the worst ones. There is one place along that roast where the cut goes wrong, and if you cut there, you have ruined the 2 best steaks in it, and you will never know you did it. I am going to show you exactly where that line is. Buy it long, cut it thick, eat like the man who cut it.